So yeah, my name is Nick Valentin. I'm originally from Stockport near Manchester, and I make robots. But as Chris has said today, I'm actually speaking to you from Canada. So I've been here for 2 months, and I want to tell you about my journey. So how I got here, how I came to be in Canada, how I came to make robots. Speak to you about the variety of things I've managed to do because of that. And by doing that, tell you guys what you could do by being interested in robotics and maybe engineering. So I'm going to tell you my story. And my story starts at school, like you guys. At primary and high school, I actually liked drama and history. And I really enjoyed writing stories, so I was quite creative. What I didn't particularly like, and I wasn't actually that good at, was science. But I knew that I wanted to use my creativity to make physical things to help people. And that's commonly called engineering. So engineering is all about making things and designing things. But to do engineering, you need to be good at maths and science. So I knew I needed to do that to get into engineering and make those things that I wanted to make. So after high school, I went to college. And at college, I did maths, physics, electronics. So electronics is like computers and your phone. And I did politics as well, actually, which is all about the government. But I didn't do particularly well. I didn't particularly like science. I wasn't very, very good at it. But I had a determination. I wanted to make things. I was good at art. I wanted to use that creativity to make things and to help people. So I wasn't particularly good at those things. I didn't do overly well at college, but I still managed to go to university. And I think what this told me was that if you know you like something, and if you try hard at it, you practice, you can get to where you want to be. And if one door closes, as in you can't get to where you want to be by one route, there's normally another way of doing it. And for me, to get to university, I had to do an extra year to catch up with everybody else. And actually, I've done great because I did that. Just because I didn't do very well in one area didn't mean that I wasn't going to be very good at it forever. So I went to university and I did mechanical engineering. Mechanical engineering is all about the things you can see on the screen there. So cars, trains, and planes. And to do that, we learn all about things like materials. So why things are made of certain things. So for example, why is my water bottle made of plastic? We learn about drawing things. So how do we communicate the ideas we've got to other people? So that's all about drawing pictures and telling them, well, I want to make a plane this shape. We learn about how things are made. We do still do maths, but importantly, we learn about teamwork as well. So engineering, people say there's a lot of science in there, but for me, it's a lot about communication and talking to other people and working with your colleagues. So one person isn't going to make the whole plane. One person isn't going to design the whole train. You have to use what other people are good at. You have to be able to talk to them, communicate people, and you'll make a better train and a better plane because of that, because you're able to talk to people. While I was at university, to make myself better at talking to people, better at teamwork and making friends, I organised trips to go to factories and to places where people do engineering. I did that because I enjoyed it, but also because I wanted to get better at that teamwork, get better at talking to people, so I could be better at making things. And we went to all kinds of different interesting and fun places. So we went to, on the top right there, that's a model of an engine that might one day go to space. We learned about how you make electricity, and I had a lot of fun doing that. But doing that gave me skills that would be useful in the future. And whilst I was at university, I spent a year at work as well. And I learned about how electricity gets from well, gets to our homes and gets to your school, and how the lights work. And it taught me all about how to the world of work and how to work with other people, and what it would be like after university, what it would be like after school. Now, the national grid, the people who get electricity to your home, to your school, they were interested in using robots. And as such, I wanted to know more about them as well. And that's what we're going to go a little bit into now. So when we think of robots, you'll often think of the things that you can see on the screen there. So I'm sure some of you will be able to recognize some of the robots on the screen. But what about the robots that can help us now in real life? What are robots like in the real world? Well, robots do jobs for us that are dull, dirty, or dangerous. So they are machines, and they do jobs that we don't want to do. So they're jobs that are boring, they're jobs that are unclean, or they're jobs that are unsafe, where people could get hurt. So we'll send a machine to go or make a machine go and do that job, rather than a person going and doing it. And in many ways, they're quite like us. So a robot needs a brain, and that's often provided by a computer. So a computer engineer might do that. A robot might need eyes or ears, so they can learn about the world around them, and that's to do with electronics. And a robot's eye might be a camera, like on your phone. And robots also need to move, like us. I mean, so we've got bones and muscles, and robots have metal and motors, and that's mechanical engineering. And like I said earlier, engineering is a lot about talking to different people. So I will need to talk to the person that makes the computer, the person that makes the electronics and the camera, and they will need to talk to me, because none of us can do all of it. And so what you can see there on the bottom left of the screen is where most robots are used today. So we use robots in factories for making things, and they do boring jobs that are repetitive, so doing the same thing over and over and over again, or they're doing jobs that are dangerous, and they're quite stupid. Robots today aren't very clever at all. So in the factory, they might just be moving one thing from one place to another, and they might just be doing that over and over again. And a person doesn't want to do that because it's boring, so we make the robot do it. But in the future, robots might be used in all kinds of different places, and robots and robotics isn't just about engineering. So if you don't want to be an engineer or don't have an interest in it, you might still be involved in robots and finding new ways of using robots. So on the screen, you can see the top left. You can see a robot that goes inside the pyramids to help us learn about ancient Egypt. Below that is a robot in space. So that's on Mars. This is a remote control plane that can be used to deliver medicines. Below that is a remote control helicopter following a whale, so we can use robots to actually help us learn about wildlife. And over here is a robot that can help older people. So a robot that can help your granny and grandpa around the house. So it's not all just about engineering. If you want to go into something else like wildlife or medicine, whatever you want to do, it's quite likely that you could use a robot in the future. So I decided that I liked this and that I wanted to learn more about robots. So I stayed at university even longer and to learn about them. And I learned all about how the robot works. Artificial intelligence is like the robot's brain. But I also did virtual reality, and that's like computer games. So I made my own computer games. At the bottom here, this is a computer game I made to help people learn about power stations, so where electricity is made. And I learned about these factory robots as well. So here's our robots making cars again. And below that is how we teach the robots what they need to do. And again, it's like a computer game. So you go into the game, you tell the robot what to do, and then in real life, it does it. So one of the reasons I like robotics is because it's a good mix of different things. So one minute I'm making stuff, and the next minute I'm making a computer game. It's very varied. So I'd spent a lot of time at school and a lot of time at university, and afterwards I needed to get a job. And to do this, we needed to do interviews, we needed to do tests. But I found that because I'd done things like the factory visits with my friends, I had the skills to help me succeed in that. And the thing I think about is building your skills is like having a sword and shield. And the more you practice, the better your sword, the better your shield. And the more likely, the better you're going to do in those interviews, and the easier it will be. And that applies to anything. So whatever skill you've got, whatever you're good at, the more you practice it, the easier it will be in the future. So I got a job at the Ministry of Defence. Now, the Ministry of Defence is an organisation that gives the army its equipment. So it decides and makes tanks and guns, and we're the people who decide what the army is going to use. I had to learn all about things like money and looking after people. So again, it's not all about the science, it's not all about the maths all of the time. I built drones, which are like remote control planes, and you can see someone flying a remote control plane I built there. I tested guns and weapons. We did things on remote control diggers, like that there. And this here is a remote control tank. Yeah, a big remote control tank. So for me, this was all about helping soldiers. So like this person here. So the better I can do my job, the better I am at my skills that I've practiced, the safer these people are going to be. So the better I do my job, the safer these people are going to be. They're not going to get hurt. So these are some of the robots that I've worked on. We've got a robot here that can go into dirty areas. So say if someone spilt something and we don't want a person to touch it, this robot can go and have a look at it, so the person's not going to get hurt. This robot here on the right is for carrying heavy things. So if we don't want someone carrying something really heavy, this robot here is like a big remote control car, and it can carry lots of things for us. Remember when I said earlier about learning how to draw things? A lot of the drawing we do is on computers, and this is how we design robots today. So on the computer, and after this talk, I will go back to my desk, and I'll be doing this on the computer, doing lots of different drawings to build robots. Now, another thing I've done, because of the skills I've got, is I've done quite a lot with the army, actually, because I've got those engineering skills. I've been able to use them all over the world and meet lots of different people. So including this monkey up here, which was in Gibraltar. But yeah, I found that by doing something varied, I've been able to go all around the world and do lots of different interesting things. And engineering and robotics has allowed me to do that. And that's a lot of that is because I found something that I enjoy. It doesn't matter particularly whether it's engineering. If you find something that you enjoy, and you get better at it, people want to use your skills, and there'll be lots of different opportunities that you can take. One way I make my skills better is by volunteering and doing things in my spare time. I'm always looking at making myself better, and I might do that by speaking to lots of different people in front of lots of people, or going and being better at engineering by working on old cars or old vehicles. And again, that's taken me to lots of different places and allowed me to be better at what I do. That's a racetrack that I've been able to go to by volunteering. And it just shows that if you want to get better at things, there's lots of opportunities for you out there. I've done it in engineering because that's what I like doing, and there's a lot of fun things to do within engineering. But if you want to do something different, you can always build your skills by doing things in your spare time as well. So, lessons from me. Find something that you like doing and look for ways to make yourself better at what you do. It's okay to be nervous about things. It's okay to find things hard. I found this hard at the beginning. I wasn't good at maths. I wasn't good at science, but I knew that this is what I wanted to do. I knew that I would like building robots and making things. So I tried hard and I looked for different routes. When I couldn't do the thing that I wanted to do, I found another way of going and doing that. And there will always be things like that. So don't worry if you find things hard. And use what you're good at to help other people. Build those skills. So build your sword, build your shield, make it bigger, make it better, practice things, and use that to help other people. I found it really satisfying by doing it, by making things through engineering. And you might find something that you like doing and use that to help people. So, summary. I've touched a little bit on robots, and hopefully you'll ask more questions about robots. But robots will help us, and have a think about what you'd like a robot to do to help other people, to help someone else. If you could make a robot to help someone, what would it do? By doing engineering, I've done lots of different things. So we talked about the army, we talked about volunteering. I've traveled all over the world. So yeah, right now I'm in Canada and it's snowy outside. There's lots of different routes to where you might want to get to. Within engineering, you don't have to go to university. There's things called apprenticeships that you can go and do. And for me, engineering, you might have heard about engineering before, but for me, engineering is all about making things to solve problems and help people. It's not always about the science and the maths. We need creative people too. When I was your age, I liked acting, I liked history, but I wanted to do something to make things and help other people. So I hope that's been interesting, and I hope you've got plenty of questions to ask me.
All right, brilliant. Thanks, Nick. Very interesting. Thank you very much. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, and I'm sure you will have, could you please ask your teachers, and they can then type them into the chat facility. Nick will read them out and then give his answers. There's usually a bit of a lull here, Nick.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And can you come out to your view screen as well? So you're like full fit?
Yes. Where is it, Chris?
So it should be the top screen. Top of the screen. Put your mouse to the top of the screen. It should say exit share screen. I'll see if I can come out. There you go. You're out.
Dean, thanks. I just need to make myself full screen now, don't I?
You there? It's actually.
Oh, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out. Okay, cool.
And the questions are rolling in.
Excellent. Oh, yeah. So just start from the top. Chris?
Yes, please. Sorry, I muted myself again. Yes, please.
Yeah. So, how many robots have you made during your career? Good question. So at the moment, me personally, I've probably made around 10. So remember that it's not just one person making the robots. You make them as a team. So me personally, it's probably only about 10. But in total, I've contributed to a lot more robots. Always remember that it's not just about one person making these things all the time. There's lots of different teams of people. How did you make a robot to protect people? So do you remember we had the robot that went and looked at maybe spills? So maybe someone had spilt something on the floor, and we don't want a person to touch it because it might be dangerous. So I've protected people in that way. So now, because that we've got the machine can go and have a look at whatever someone has spilled, like a nasty chemical. The robot can look at it, and in that way, the person isn't getting hurt. But for me, that's all robotics is about removing people from those dangerous situations and making people safe. And I think I'll be doing that a lot more, and that's what I'd like to do a lot more. What was the first thing I ever made? So when I was at school, I really liked Lego and Connects. So the first thing I ever made was probably something out of Lego, and it was probably something like a spaceship, actually. So for watching TV and watching films, and that was one of the things that got me into engineering. Actually, I liked the look of what people showed in films and things like spaceships. I wanted to make those things myself. So that's probably what I did as a child. Made things out of, when I was your age, was made things out of Lego. But the first thing I made when I was at university, actually, was a camera. It was a robot with a camera in it that could look around. How long did I work with the army? So a lot of the pictures you saw there, I worked with the army for full time for about a year. So I do the army in my spare time. So I'll go one evening a week. I'll go with the army, but I did spend an entire year with them, and I might do that again in the future because it was a fun thing to do. Going away and again helping people in another area. How long have I been an engineer? So I only finished uni. When did I finish uni? Probably about 4 years ago. So I've not been an engineer, as in finished school or my education or uni. That long ago, but I've already done quite a lot of different things because I picked to do robotics and I picked to do engineering, which is a new and exciting area. I've been able to go away and do a lot of different things. So yeah, only so far out of university and out of education, only 4 years, but I've already done quite a lot. What is the most common job a robot can be given to do? So the most common job a robot can be given to do, I think it is making cars. So there's lots and lots of robots hidden away in factories that lots of us don't see. But robots are becoming more common. So we now have robot hoovers, robot vacuum cleaners. But still think for the most part, the most common form of robot are the ones hidden in the factories and making cars and doing those dirty or boring jobs that we don't want to do. What's the most interesting robot that I have made? So, the most interesting robot I think I've made was actually at university. So I had an idea to control a robot from a video game. So wherever the robot, so I had a controller and a robot moved in the video game, in the virtual reality. And then the robot moved in real life as well. So whatever the computer game robot did, the real world robot did as well. I liked that. That was probably the most interesting one that I personally have made. There's all kinds of different interesting robots out there that are doing jobs to protect people and to stop people from getting hurt as well. That computer game robot is just my most interesting robot. But you saw in my presentation that robots go inside the pyramids. We're making robots to help the elderly. And yeah, I'd quite like to do that at some point in the future. I think there's more interesting robots to come as well. When was the first robot made? A long time ago, actually. Probably. It depends how you think about robots. So obviously a long time ago, they didn't have electricity. And today we think of robots as having electricity in them. But the first robots were actually made probably about 800 years ago in the Middle East. The father of robotics was actually, from the Middle East, I think around Iraq. So it's a long, long time ago, but it's only relatively recent that they've really, really caught on. So probably about the 1920s, so about 80 years ago, do we see what we would understand as a robot. So a metal man looking thing. So probably about 80 years ago, you see these metal people. But actually, the history and the idea of robots goes back a lot longer. What is the best robot that I have made? So, best. It probably is that the best robot that I've made is probably the chemical investigation robot. That was the one that worked the best, because quite often as an engineer you'll make things and it doesn't quite work the way you want it to. You'll get it wrong lots and lots of times. But like I said, if you find something hard, don't give up. Eventually you'll get to where you want to be. And I think that was the case with the chemical detection robot that goes and looks at different chemicals to protect people. Is that I got it to a point where it was a good robot, whereas quite a lot of the time you'll make something and it won't actually be very good, and you'll need to do lots and lots more practice. How old were you when you thought you would definitely be an engineer? That is a really good question, because for a long time I wanted to maybe be a marine biologist or maybe an archaeologist, digging up the past. So when did I actually decide to be an engineer? And it probably was at the end of high school. So I was probably about 15 that I decided that, right, Nick, you're going to have to start getting good at maths and science. And start trying really hard at these things. But just because I did it at 15 doesn't mean that people do it later as well. Like I said, there's lots of different routes to get to where you want to be. You might decide that later that actually engineering's for me, or after engineering you might decide, right, well, I want to go and do something else now. So for me it was probably about 15, because I needed to know what subjects that I needed to do at college. So yeah, it was probably about 15 for me. But it doesn't have to be that. We have been studying coal mining during our recent topic. If coal mining was still so popular, do you think there would be a robot that could help? Yes, definitely. So where mining still is popular around the world, people are using robots. Because mining is dangerous, so they send the robot into the mine to dig out the coal instead of using people. There's quite a lot of robots that do that, because mining is very dangerous. We want to remove the people from the mine. So yeah, definitely. If mining was still so popular, we would definitely be, in the UK, we would definitely be using robots to do it, to make it safer. How powerful are your robots? So, the big remote control car ones that you saw, so there was a robot that I showed you that could be used for carrying loads. So if I was really lazy, or the load was simply the package was simply too big for me to carry, that robot could carry it. We've got pictures of some of the robots that I've worked on. I've not, like I said, you don't design the robot yourself, but some of the robots that I've worked on, they've been used to pull planes as well. So robots can be anything from tiny little things that go inside the body to help you, all the way up to giant robots, that can pull planes and huge bits of machinery. So yeah, I think one of the ones I've worked on has pulled a plane. So next question, would you like to have been an actor as you liked drama? Yeah, so I still like acting. I still like doing that. Can still do it in my spare time. So I think I would have enjoyed it. But the thing I like about engineering is that I quite like having made something. So something like I know this is only basic, but the pen, I quite like having something physical that I've made, and that's why I chose to do it as a job. And acting, I can do in my spare time as well, because I like speaking to people. So yeah, I still would like to have been an actor, but I chose engineering because I liked making things. How old were you when someone bought one of your creations? How old will I have been? So I left uni when I was about 25. So I was probably in my mid-20s, but there's plenty of people who are a lot younger making robots, because it's so accessible to everyone. So you can go out and buy a Lego kit or Connects or something like that and make something and learn about robots. And people of all ages are out there making robots, because you can buy the things very easily and put them together and make some really interesting and cool things. And quite often they're things that other people haven't done before, because it's such a new area. So if you get involved in it, you can always find new ways of using robots. And yeah, people of all ages are doing it. What is my favorite robot? So is it a real robot? There's a robot. Actually, it's probably the one on Mars. I think that's really cool. So real robots, the Mars rover. So there's a robot. I think I showed you a picture of it. The robot in space, exploring Mars. I really like that one. But my favorite fictional robot, robot out of films, is probably Wall-E. I love that guy. Big thank you. You are very big thank you from Wandle Valley. The students were really interested. Thank you very much. Oh, what's the biggest mistake you've made building a robot? Oh, the biggest mistake. I make mistakes all the time. We all do. But the important thing is that we learn from it. But the biggest mistake, nothing's gone really badly wrong. There's always other people to help you, and that's an important point. So if you make a mistake, go and ask someone for help, or if you don't know how to do something, definitely always go and ask someone for help. So I've never made any big mistakes, because when I thought I'm not doing this right, this isn't okay, I'm finding this hard, I've always gone and asked someone. So there's never been any big disasters, because I've always gone and asked someone. Often it's just lots of little things all of the time, and you think, oh, I'm really stupid, I got that wrong. But it's okay, because you're learning things. Thank you so much from Charlie St. Peters. We loved your chat. Again, you're very welcome. What is the longest time you've spent building a robot? The longest time on one project that I've worked on was probably at university. So remember when I said about the computer game robot? So I had to design the computer game that the robot was in. I had to build the physical robot itself as well. And I had to learn about lots of different areas and lots of different things. And that was probably the longest time I've spent building a robot. And it's not just about the build, like the physical putting the robot, together. You've got to learn about it first. And a lot of it wasn't about the physical building. It was learning. There was a lot of learning that I had to do first. And that was probably about a year I spent doing that. And a lot of it was reading and learning about it and asking other people what they thought and asking people for help. What inspired you to turn to science and robotics? So what inspired me to turn to science and robotics? And it was, like I said in my presentation, it wasn't because I really, really, really liked or was good at science or maths. It was, for me, it was all about finding ways of helping people. And I wanted to, use my creativity. So I knew I was good at writing stories, and I liked inventing things. I knew I wanted to use that inventiveness to make things. And because of that, I knew that I wanted to do engineering. And because I wanted to do engineering, you need to learn about maths and science. So that's why I knew I had to turn to it. If this is what I wanted to do, if I wanted to make things to help people, I had to turn to science and robotics. So the actual inspiration came from helping people and making things rather than the actual science itself. But then again, robotics itself is a really interesting and exciting area. People are always doing new things with robots. People are always inventing something new, and it's a really exciting area to be in at the moment, and that in itself is quite inspirational. Did you have any other jobs that you considered having? So yeah, I did consider marine biology, I considered archaeology, acting as well, so quite a range of different things. It wasn't always going to definitely be engineering. And yeah, I also thought about going into the army as well all of the time. So yeah, I have considered other things, and engineering and making things is the thing that I settled on because it enabled me to have that variety to do lots of different things. What am I working on at the minute? So what I'm working on at the minute is a place where a robot can go to get power. So when the robot's running low on battery, the robot will go to a special plug socket and will charge itself. So we don't need a person to charge the robot. The robot says, right, I'm low on power, and it will go to this special place, and it will dock with it, and and it will charge the robot. So that's what I'm working on right now, and it's hard. It's quite a hard challenge, but I think what's so satisfying about engineering is that all that hard work, when it works, you can see it at the end, and it's really satisfying to know that I worked really hard, but I made that, and there it is, and it works. Which part of your career have you enjoyed the most? So yeah, I think it is that. So what I've just described, actually. So it is broadly, it's that satisfaction when something you've worked really hard on has worked and has helped someone. And when I was away with the army, actually, going in, I did building things, like actual buildings. I actually finishing that and seeing the soldiers use it and it helping them was probably one of the most satisfying things I've ever done. Have you used Lego Mindstorms? And if yes, did you like it? I love Lego Mindstorms, and it's definitely one of the things that got me into robotics and showed me that I could do it as well. I think robotics, people see it as really hard and fancy, but no, Lego Mindstorms is really good. And yeah, thank you for listening. And if you've got any feedback for Chris, fire it on. Thank you.
Cheers, Nick. They've all gone, mate.
Yeah.
Well done, brilliant. Well done, thanks. It's great.
Okay. I don't know whether I don't know whether that was too high level or pitched it too low. Or...
No, I think it was fine. I mean, we had it was one secondary school and 1, 2, 3, and 3 primaries, and one that went first. That was a secondary school, but I think they were going to go at 2 anyway. So no, you did really. I thought it was good. It's good. So okay. Yeah, and then there were quite a few on there as well, I think. So thank you.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay. Did I send you a doodle poll for January? I don't know whether you can do any in January.
Or I could do. Yeah. Again, if they've got like a specific topic or anything that they'd like to?
No, it's just general. It's just a general after schools really. We don't really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So brilliant. Thanks, mate. And I shall be in touch shortly.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah, send me that doodle poll through.
Okay. And have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.
See you soon. Bye.